Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spoonful podcast. I am your host, Mario Piacquadio, disembodied voice right now. We had a little bit of a mix up with the recording, lost about the first 15 seconds or so of the episode, so I just wanted to give you a heads up. That's why we kind of just drop you in the conversation out of nowhere. Emmett was making a joke about how he now has a Steam Deck, and I'm extremely jealous of him, as you can see. But that's pretty much all you missed. On to the rest of the show.
Words that I don't want to say right now in the course of this. So I gave up. Yeah, I've been Steam Deck and I'm very happy. But we're talking about this stuff this episode. I'm very excited about that as well.
I did see you were Steam Decking, and I'm very happy for you. Very jealous of you. Another person I'm very jealous because I know they have a Steam Deck as well. Our very first guest on the Spoonful podcast, Mr. Blessing Adeoye Jr.
It's me. And I know this is going to sound like, over exaggeration, but your life is going to change. The Steam Deck is going to change everything for you. Like nothing's going to be the same after this. I'm very excited for this journey you're going to go on. Emulate everything.
I have already started emulating a few things. I have an SD card that's like 500 gigs, so it's not as big as I wanted to. Maybe I should have got more, but I'm deep in there, man. I got Fatal Frame on here. I got God Hand. It's about to be a wild night.
I'm trying to figure out, like, I've not added anything to my Steam Deck lately. I just acquired copies of Soul Calibur 2 for the PS2, and then Thug 1 for the PS2 as well. And I got Thug 1 because I was playing Thug 2, Tony Hawk's Underground 2, and that's the game I played so many times. And I was like, man, I wish I could come to this brand new. I wish I could erase my memory of this game and just experience it brand new. And like, as I was thinking that, I was like, you know what? I've never played Tony Hawk's Underground 1. And that's probably the thing I'm asking for right now. And so I went and downloaded it. But during that process, I definitely had another game in mind that I was like, oh, this is a PS2 game that I need to download. Let me get back to it. And I can't recall what the game was that I wanted to download that wasn't Thug 1.
Was it another skating game?
I don't think it was another skating game. Was it Soul Calibur? I don't think it was Soul Calibur.
I'm guessing it was a PS2 game, right? Because that's like the mind frame that you're in.
It definitely had to have been a PS2 game.
That narrows it down.
Yeah, because that was my generation. Maybe it was Kingdom Hearts. No, I would never want to replay Kingdom Hearts. No offense to Kingdom Hearts, but
Cameron Hawkins is sharpening the blade right now.
Maybe by the end of the podcast, I'm hoping that randomly Bless is like, fucking, I don't know.
I'm just hoping you guys throw out just random PS2 games during the podcast, so I can be like,
the
no,
Bouncer,
that's not it. Yes, that's it.
Rise to Honor.
No, that's not it.
Midnight Club Dub Edition.
If we're gonna be launching Emmett games, we're never gonna get to the bottom of it.
I think it was Need for Speed. I think I must have been thinking of Need for Speed. Yeah, so Midnight Club jogged it for me.
Nice.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Yeah. Probably Underground. Yeah.
You need to get Underground.
Connection.
Yeah. And a Most Wanted for that matter. And Hot Pursuit too. Why not?
Do it
all.
Man.
The PS2 Need for Speeds are great. I don't know what happened.
Steam Deck your life away, man. I'll be there one day.
I need to download Burnout 3. Thanks for reminding me. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll do that.
You Steam Deck people. I'm so jealous of you. In case you didn't know, this is the Spoonful Podcast. This is the show where Emmett and I, and sometimes a guest, will spoon feed you a topic of just about anything we want to talk about. Goes live every other week on YouTube. Still don't have a custom link. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so we can actually get a custom link. But it's all in our Twitters at Spoonful Vids and at EJSponge61 at Mario Not Bros. Also goes live on all the audio softwares. I don't know, all the programs that you have. Today, before we get to the main gist of the topic, everything, I wanna just real quick do my own little corner here. If you followed me on Twitter, I think I've mentioned it slightly on the show, but this year has been a life-changing year for me game-wise. Not only because I've played and beaten the most games that I have ever in my life. I'm approaching 40 games this year, and I'm
time management goals.
Dang.
Yeah.
Shout out to the GG app for helping me keep track of it all. But what I also started doing, and I don't know if Blessing is aware of it, I started my From Software journey for the first time. I had never played a single From Software game, and I started with Bloodborne, and now I'm playing Elden Ring. I've beaten Bloodborne, I have beaten Demon's Souls the remake, I've beaten Dark Souls 1 remastered, and I've beaten Sekiro. Couldn't get it to Dark Souls 2 and 3 in time because the year's winding down, but I'm 35 hours into Elden Ring. I fully dove into the rabbit hole, and I just wanted to talk about it for a little bit because these games are real good, y'all. I don't know if you heard about them. They're real fucking good games.
They're pretty
Yeah.
cool games. Yeah, it's funny. I've been doing a replay of God of War, and God of War 2018. I originally played when it came out in 2018, and since then I've played multiple From Software games. I played Bloodborne. I followed that with Sekiro immediately, and then I played Elden Ring as well. And it's fun going back to God of War after after playing those games, and also playing some more Platinum games as well. I guess Nier came out before God of War, but I also played like Near the original Near, and then also like Metal Gear Revengeance, and
You're
like
wild.
the original Near. Well, it came out and they had the remake that came out last
Oh
year.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's the one you're talking
Replicant.
about.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought you were talking
Yeah,
about like
Near Replicant.
PS3, and I'm like, oh lord.
No, yeah, no, I played Near Replicant.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've been playing like I was playing some of those too as well, and it's funny coming back to God of War with the newfound experiences I've had with From games and going, oh man, this combat is great combat. Not as great as it was on the pedestal that like I put it on right when I originally played it, because
Mhm.
like once you play Bloodborne and once you play Sekiro, especially when it comes to
Yeah.
combat, oh, it's a different game. That's a different level right there when it comes to combat systems. Let alone, Elden Ring is such a fantastic game when it comes to both its combat, its boss fights, the plethora and just vastness of like the open world and the fights that you're encountering and the design of it. It is one of the most designed open world games that I've ever played, and I absolutely adore it.
Dude, absolutely. It's funny because I was thinking because I wanted to replay God of War leading up to Ragnarok too. I honestly don't know if I'm gonna have the time to get to it, but even thinking of like the actual button mapping, like you can see in God of War, especially after playing the From Software games, how like much inspiration I guess they drew from that. And the one thing that Blessing is totally right about, Sekiro ruined my life because the combat in Sekiro is so good that almost every other game that I've played since, I'm like, man, it just doesn't hit the same.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
like it's honestly life changing. Sekiro is one of the few single player games that I ran through. That game beat my. Can I cuss on the show? Can I say bad
Yeah, oh
words?
yeah,
Please.
absolutely. Go
I've
ahead.
Okay,
scored like twice. It's fine.
okay, yeah. Sekiro beat my bottom throughout the entire experience,
Wow,
and
what a curse.
yeah, I'm sorry. I had to let it out, guys. I had to let it out.
My
But yeah,
arse.
it was such a tough game to play. It's a game that fights back so hard, and I've died so many times. Finished the game, and immediately I was like, I want to replay this right now. I want
Yeah.
to play it again right now. Just do a straight run through again. And I didn't, but I did do like boss rush modes, and I did pop back for more. It is such just a satisfying game to play with a combat system that requires so much of you, but the process of getting it down is so sad. It's like playing a rhythm game where it's like, cool,
Yeah.
I want to get good at this song. I want to learn this song. I want to learn this enemy. I want to memorize this
Uh-huh.
enemy's movements and rhythms. And it is so satisfying. And I think like for combat systems, it is like top 3 for me. Maybe top 1 if I sat down and really thought about it, honestly.
Yeah. No, I agree. Dude, I started Elden Ring like pretty much I think like a week or two after I beat Sekiro, and it took me such a while to like get used to the combat in Elden Ring, like kind of make my brain forget about the combat in Sekiro because it obviously you haven't played any of them. I know you've played Souls Likes, but no actual From
Shout
Software
out to
games.
Surge too.
No, there you go. Sekiro is really, really focused on parrying, right? Which the other From Software games do have sort of a parry mechanic, but it's very, very different. Like you can get through pretty much any other From Software game without really parrying a whole lot. Sekiro is parrying. It's what you have to do, and it's what Blessing is saying.
Mm.
It's almost like a rhythm game because it gets to a point where you remember the patterns of the attacks of each boss, and you're just tapping away. And there's different kind of counters that you can do. If an enemy does a thrust attack, you press a different button that gives you a different kind of counter, and you get into this rhythm where it almost does feel like a rhythm game. And the thing that I want to the number one thing that I want to shout out before cuz Elden Ring I'm still 35 hours into it, which is nothing for that game, so I don't really
That's
want to I know. It's kind of wild by the way to put 35 hours into a game and be like, "Oh yeah, I know I have like 100 hours left. I'm
Yeah, like I
good."
barely scratched the surface.
Yeah, that's insane.
almost a work week.
But the thing, and I want to pitch it to you, Emmett, because I think you would enjoy Sekiro a lot because in
Mm.
a way, it is From Software's most accessible game while also probably being the hardest game. Like, at least for me, the game that I died on the most was by far Sekiro. I think that the combat is really, really, really tough, but it's really satisfying. But they really strip down all the other stuff, right? Like in Dark Souls and in Bloodborne to a degree, and obviously in Elden Ring, like there's deep levels of customization, right? Where like you get different outfits and different weapons, and each weapon has their own move sets and their own things, and you have to worry about if you're gonna do spells or not, how much weight your armor
Yeah,
costs, and if that's gonna weigh you down
statistics
and
and
stuff.
such, yeah.
It's like it gets really, really deep, but in Sekiro, they pretty much kinda, like, let go of that. There's only one weapon that you use, there's not really, like, armor that you can do, there's still leveling up, but the leveling up system is very, very simple, it's just, like, 2 kinds of leveling up, really, that you can do, and it's almost more of a third person, like, action character action game,
Okay,
but
Yeah.
speaking my language.
It's
it's
like it's funny because Mario is 100% speaking truth in terms of like that the back and forth of from software games where I played Bloodborne first, and Bloodborne is more action RPG, and it is so cryptic in terms of the mechanics, and it is you trying to figure out, all right, what is the like what do these things do? What is this item even? Like, how do I even use half the stuff in this game? Like, Bloodborne
Mhm.
doesn't tell you anything, but then there's also different builds and all that stuff. Sekiro, you get into it, and it is almost more of a pure action game, and it's easier to understand, but it is harder to master.
Mm.
And but you don't have to look up guides. You don't have to like,
no.
and you might want to still look up guides, but like you don't have to, right? You don't have to like figure out like what is this cryptic thing. All right, I'm gonna talk to all my friends to figure out exactly what the language of this game is. It's like no, you just have to get good. Is really what Sekiro requires of you. In the process of getting good is actually really fun because it is just memorizing the patterns, kind of learning how to understand. Oh, this is how I parry. Okay, and once you, for me, it was oh, what's the name of the boss that you fight on the roof, like the
Oh,
big one?
yeah,
Is it
Genichiro?
Genichiro?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's
Genichiro.
Genichiro. What that fight for me was the turning point
So
where I was
tough,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, that's how this game is supposed to work," and
Mm.
totally unlocked just a new way to play a video game for me that I was like, I didn't know that this could be that fun, right? Just like parry, 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 wait, jump, boom, parry. Oh, okay, I'm gonna. This is the rhythm I
Right.
need to fight this boss. It is so fun. It is so satisfying. But then going from Sekiro to Elden Ring, I wasn't loving Elden Ring as much in my first 20 hours, and I think it was because of that transition of just loving the action so much in Sekiro, and then going back to Elden Ring, which is the most RPG game that From Software has made, where it is here are all these different weapons, here's all these different directions to go, here's all this leveling stuff, here's all these stats, here's like Elden Ring is an RPG as action RPG game, and going from the pure action to Sekiro, it was real tough to make that transition. And then like once I got to towards the end of Elden Ring, I was like, oh, this is like one of the greatest things ever. But it was a tough transition because Sekiro is so different from all the other things that From Software does.
Okay. Well, I'll say this: you guys are saying the right things. Honestly, what you guys are talking about, how you're explaining like the very active gameplay systems of Sekiro, it's giving me Doom Eternal vibes, and I love
Mm,
Doom Eternal. That is still one of my favorite shooters of all time. So I'll tell you what, during this conversation, about halfway through it, I went on Steam and wishlisted it, saw it's verified. So
heck
Oh
yeah.
boy, here
I
we go.
I might have to get on that. I
Yeah.
might wait for a sale because I'm still like, still taking a chance at the end of the day. But yeah, it sounds like something I could get behind.
Yeah, no, I wanted to pitch that game to you specifically because I know that you you're not, a From Software guy, but it's so much different than the other games while still keeping some of those awesome things. The last thing I'll say about Sekiro is that the story, in my opinion, is one of the best that From Software has told, and it's one of the easiest to, like, follow and kind of understand what you're doing. Because the way that From Software tells stories is, like, you have to read the descriptions of every item to, like, really understand what's going on, and even then, it's kind of very cryptic. Once you get into the stories, it's really, really cool, but Sekiro does it a little bit better. And the last thing I'll say, funny enough, I felt the same way that Blessing did about Elden Ring. My first 20 hours, I was like kind of very underwhelmed. Like the combat still wasn't
Mm.
hidden for me. I didn't see because people are talking about this game like it's like a revolutionary game, and you've heard all the
Crisis
conversations.
returned in video game form.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. But I didn't see it. It for me, I'm like, it's just an open world game. It's cool, but I still don't see the magic in it. But the magic is clicking. 35 hours in, the magic is
Yeah.
is.
Dude, it's gonna keep clicking too, because I think for me the magic of Elden Ring is that it just somehow kept going to where you're finding new bosses, you're finding new areas, you're finding new shit, and like you're opening up the map. And when I got 80 hours in, and I was like, am I even? How far am I in this game even? Am I even like 2/3 in? Like, why does this thing keep going? And like everything that it introduces is like new, right? New enemy designs, new boss designs, new areas, new like you enter a new area and it's like, oh, now I'm over here and this is like a totally different kind of environment that's still connected to the same map. Like you find new like, oh, this is a random thing. What's this doing? It teleports you to some like random shit. Like Elden Ring it's the definition of adventure. It's the same reason why I loved like Breath of the Wild so much, right? Where like I play that game and all of a sudden I come across a huge labyrinth and I'm like, what is this thing doing here? And I go through it and I get like the whatchamacallit, the shrine that I go through and like, you know, solve that puzzle or
Right.
whatever, right? Like there's always that constant level of, oh, what's over here? Oh, how'd this get here? And then like there's a puzzle or something tied to it. Elden Ring does that same thing, but I think Elden Ring even maybe goes even further with it, where it is like a cool lore thing or like a cool like a boss fight that's gonna kick your ass, but like is also really cool. Yeah, Elden it is a game that it's like one of the examples of, hey man, sometimes like having a vast amount of content can be good overall for your game, like being this cool thing. Because I remember when Dying Light 2 came out and like there was the trailer or there was the tweets from them being like, and you can play this game for 100 hours or whatever, and everybody's like, no, why would I want to do that for Dying Light 2? And for Dying Light 2, I understand people having that reaction, even though like that game wasn't that long anyway, but I digress. Elden Ring, I get to that 100-hour mark and I'm like, wow, I can't believe the 100 hours I just spent was like that quality and that great, and I put this much time amount of time into it, and there's this much as I found. It is such a vast game that keeps getting better and better as you play it.
It really
Right.
is. I'm excited to keep talking about it on the podcast. I was really worried that the level design of From Software games wasn't going to translate to an open world game, because that's one of the things I love the most about From Software games, right? Like I played Bloodborne first, and I think that's like one of the best designed games I've ever played. And then Dark Souls. And Blessing, correct me if you're wrong, you've never played Dark Souls, right?
No, I played the first couple hours of Dark Souls and also the first couple hours of Demon Souls, but I haven't played through them yet.
Yeah. Dark Souls 1 in particular, I haven't gotten to 2 or 3, and I know 2 is a whole debate on itself. The design in Dark Souls 1 even overtook the level design of Bloodborne for me, where the level of interconnectedness of like you are in this area that is like a castle and you go underneath it and there's this whole amazing area and you spend 10 hours in this part and suddenly you make a right turn and you're back at a place that you were at 15 hours ago and you didn't even know that they were connected. Like that sort of level of interconnectivity is something that From Software nails all the time, and I was scared that they weren't going to do that in Elden Ring, but they do in a gigantic fucking open world. And I know that I haven't even scratched the surface yet, but anyway, play Sekiro, dude. You'll like it.
I will say, number one, I will try out Sekiro sometime in the future. When will that happen? Don't know, but that will happen. Number two, very intimidated by the idea of like it keeps going and going and going in Elden Ring, because that is like Red Dead Redemption 2, one of my favorite games of all time. I was so annoyed at every point where the story kept going, where I was like, oh, there's more. I'm excited. But at the same time, I'm like, I want to get to the point where I can think back on this nostalgically already.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but I'm still in the middle of the moment. So like that's a little
Well,
bit frustrating.
the main difference is that Red Dead Redemption 2 is a boring ass game. That's the
Oh,
only
That
I'm
difference.
gonna
too.
fight
Yeah.
you.
That too. Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really
That's
good
the
All right,
point.
only
all right.
difference.
But also like the thing with Elden Ring is like Elden Ring actually keeps it simple. Like it's funny that I played this game in February, put in 100 hours into it. I'm like, okay, now how'd this thing go? I think there was like 4 or 5 bosses overall, like
Yeah, like
main bosses
main bosses. Yeah.
that you need to take out. And once you do that, you beat the game. Like that's pretty much the thrust of the game.
Nice.
There's
Yeah,
whole
but like
areas like that are completely optional. You don't have to do it at all.
yeah, like most of the game is just completely optional. Like you don't have to do any of that shit. Well, you want to do it so you can level up and all that, but like you don't really have to. Um, it's the fact that you want to. Like a big
Mm.
part of the game is figuring out like how do I get to this thing. Like I talked to this character and they told me about this boss that I need to go fight. and they like kind of vaguely mention that they're in this area. Then you talk to other characters, you kind of figure out, okay, where is this area? What direction is this area? And you get there and you're like, all right, this is a big castle in this area. I'm sure this character is probably in here. And it's the process of getting there and all
It's
that stuff
nuts,
and like
dude.
fighting that boss. But
Yeah.
like you can beat that game probably if you mainlined it probably in like 30 hours. But
You
Okay.
might struggle
That's less
with like
complicated.
certain areas and certain bosses, but like at the end of the day, you don't really. It's what Blessing said. It's good to level up to like be more powerful and stuff, but you don't really need to do that stuff.
yeah, I leveled up so much that I was kicking bosses' asses by the time I got to
Oh
the end
yeah,
of the game.
I'm
It was great.
I'm
Huh.
where I'm at right now. The one area that I just finished through, it was kicking my ass. It does that thing that Breath of the Wild did so good of distracting you constantly, where I start up the game and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna finish out talking to this character and then I'm gonna go to this tower here and see what that's all about. And 4 hours went by and I still haven't gone to the tower because I discovered this one thing that led me to this other thing and it just keeps going on and on and on. But it's great. I'm loving it. I'm 35 hours in, man.
Hmm.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, I will definitely check out your recommendations on those. And as the final thing I'm gonna say, just noticed that the Surge 2 is also verified. So
Love it.
that's on my wish list as well. I'm gonna play that again. It's a
Let's
good game,
fucking
everyone.
yeah, there you go. There you go. Shout out to Sifu being the game that got me into From Software in a really backward way. I played Sifu and I was like, man, I really like how tough this game is. And I know some people say that it takes inspiration from Soft games. Maybe I should play that Bloodborne game that's been
Heck
on
yeah.
PlayStation Plus, and here we are. Also,
Love that for you.
very, very last thing before we move on. Sifu and Sekiro are like they're brothers. Like they're
Yes.
almost the same
Oh,
game.
That's why I keep trying to I keep trying to get Tim Geddes to play
Dude,
Sekiro.
he would love
He would
Sekiro.
love it. Like
Yes.
I think Sifu might be his game of the year right now. And I'm trying to tell him, I'm like, dude, just play Sekiro. You're gonna
He would
love it,
love it.
dude.
They're almost the same game. One of them is like kung fu and more stylized, and then that's the difference. They're the same game otherwise.
let him
Yeah.
get a Steam Deck. That he'll come back from winter break or something with that. I guarantee it.
There you go. There you go. Well, everybody, that was Mario's section of the podcast, I guess. Moving on to the actual main topic. So to a little bit of backstory, and I'm sure Blessing probably doesn't know, but Emmett and I have done a lot of podcasts together. One of my favorite podcasts we did together a while ago is him sort of like sherpaing me and coaching me in like hip hop because I grew up in Venezuela, not speaking English, not really obviously. It's kind of hard to be a fan of rap music and hip hop music when you don't really understand the language because the lyrics are such a big part of it that otherwise it's just like a beat and somebody saying stuff that you don't really understand. But when I moved here, I didn't really like still know a lot about hip hop. I didn't know a lot about rap, and Emmett kind of walked me through it a little bit. Kind of guided me, gave me a few people to listen to and stuff, and got to the point where I know more. I'm still learning. I'm still getting there, but I consider myself now a lot more well versed in hip hop, and I didn't to be just totally, honest, I didn't know who Jid was. I didn't know anything about Jid until Emmett. When we sort of scheduled this, Emmett was saying like, "Oh, Forever Story came out. I really want to listen to it or whatever. We should do a podcast about it." And we're here to have a discussion about it. I listened to the album for the very first time yesterday. I told Emmett earlier today.
Hell
I
yeah.
listened to the album yesterday. I watched the NPR Tiny Desk concert that he did. I watched that earlier today. I want to kick off the conversation to you guys because you guys are definitely more well versed. But I have become a Jid fan. Like I
Heck
loved
yeah.
the album
Mm.
so much. It wasn't what I thought it was gonna be, but I really 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 dug it, and I'm excited to have this discussion with you guys because a great
Yeah.
fucking album.
Well, that's for damn sure. It is a great album. Welcome to the everyday struggle portion of the podcast. Because that's what this is turning into. That's an old hip hop show from back in the day. But yeah, JID, the Forever Story. It's really good. I've been a fan of Jid. For those of you who have no context to who JID or Jid is, Atlanta rapper, been around for a few years. He signed to J. Cole's label, Dreamville. You might know him most popularly from that Imagine Dragons song from Arcane Enemy. That's like he's so big off of that song. He has more streams on Spotify from that song than J. Cole does.
God,
So
that's
like on
hilarious.
his entire monthly listeners, like it's
Good for
crazy.
Imagine
That's
Dragons.
wild.
Yeah, great. But I've been a fan of JID because he just has a very different sound to him. He has a different like he has like a casualness about like he kills every song he's on. He's one of these he's not lyrical miracle in the way that he's not corny with his rhymes. He's not like really trying to do it doesn't seem like he's trying to put a lot of effort and trying to like really
Yeah,
surprise you
he's
with
not trying to
flows.
save hip hop.
Exactly.
He just sounds good. Like he's just good
Yeah,
at flowing. He's
yeah.
like rappity rap, but if rappity rap wasn't annoying.
Yeah.
Exactly. It feels like it's casual. Like
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like he's trying so hard, which I really appreciate. And plus he's insanely versatile. Like the fact that within the last year alone he was on Mike Dime's Home remix, which is like a super hard trap song. He was on Dope with John Legend, which is like a casual like kind of pop R&B song. And he was on that Imagine Dragons track. Like he did all that within 1 year and also had a #1 hit where he's rapping about guns with Stick. Like, he
oh
is
my god,
just
Stick is so good.
Stick is incredible. I love
Yeah,
that song. So yeah, he's just really multifaceted, and so I've had my eye out for him for a while. I like DiCaprio 2 that came out before this. And yeah, this one just proves that because I always knew he was talented, but I always felt like I liked him in context of him stealing the show on other people's songs, like with Spillage Village that came out 2 years ago, I want to say.
yep.
He Spilligion is the name of that album. He stole the show on every track he was on there. Like I said, all these features he's done, he sold the show. But I never really I liked his own music, but I wouldn't say it was like the craziest thing in the world, the best thing in the world. But with this album, with the Forever Story, I feel like it's a real conversation. Like Kendrick might still be my album of the year, but this is like it's neck and neck. Like depending on the
Mm.
day, I'm switching between. So like it's very good, and I like it a lot. What do you think about it, Bless?
Yeah, it's funny because like I think I'm similar to you in terms of like I listened to DiCaprio too and I liked it, but it didn't blow me away in the way that I think it was Roger Picorni that recommended it to me back in the day, and I think he was like, no, this is the one, like, dude, the DiCaprio 2 is crazy, and I listened to it, and 151 Rum off that tape was dope, right? That was like the main single off of it, and that beat and him the way he's flowing on it was great. And there's like a handful of other songs off there that I like as well, right? Like there's Off D's featuring J. Cole. There's Working Out, which I think has like a good like laid back
Uh,
beat to it.
Damn.
That it works really well melodically. But yeah, I've been more of a fan of his like posse. Hey, I'm gonna do Spillage Village and put out Spilligion, right? Which is him, Earth Gang, and like a group of people. I love that album so much. That was one of my
Yes.
albums of
Oh,
that year. I listened
same.
to that so much, and like that's mainly before the like the writing and the song structure and the melodies, and like those songs are more singy songy, but like with like I was gonna say chorus, but like with groups, right? With an actual like choir slash like chorus of people actually
Yeah.
singing these
Mariba's
hooks.
a singer in the group too, and yeah, she's on there a lot.
Yeah, and you have that, and then you have like Jid and other people chiming in with the rap verses. But like, I'm such a big fan of when rap songs kind of break up the song structure a bit more, and aren't just verse hook verse or whatever like the traditional rap structure is, right? Like, give me more melodic hooks, give me like switch ups, give me bridges, like give me weird different song structures. I think that's why Kanye West sticks out so much for so many people. Is like you listen to a Kanye West song and every single song feels like a production, right? Whereas I listen to the Nas album, and this isn't like me taking away from Nas because what
I gotta take
King's
my album down now.
yeah, no, King's Disease 2 from was that last year? I think it was last year. King's
Yeah.
Disease 2 is still one of the best albums of that year. But like I think Nas is more of he's a rapper, right? And so like you listen to
Mhm.
those songs and it is verse, hook, verse, right? And it's fire and it's dope because Nas is one of the greatest to do it. But also I like when rappers kind of like step out and like kind of really switch things up and really think about song structure and stuff. And so yeah, like I really like hearing Jid on Spillage Village. I really liked hearing him on the Dreamville albums. What was the big Dreamville album that dropped a couple years
Um,
ago?
Revenge of the Dreamers 3,
Yes, Revenge of the
and then
Dreamers
D-Day was
3.
this year, yeah.
Yeah, so Revenge of the Dreamers 3 was really like to me that's one of the best rap albums of the last 5 years.
I'd say
Um,
last decade. It's incredible.
yeah, it is incredible, and honestly, I didn't think about it at the time, but going back, I keep going back to it. I've gone back to it so many times over the years, and it still holds up. And like the crews they got for the album, the way that each of these songs stick out, right? I forget what the deluxe version was called. It might have just been called the director's cut. When Revenge of the Dreamers 3 director's cut came out, that was 30 songs and 30 bangers. Like
Yeah.
every single song sticks out and it's fire, and every song gets its moment because Dreamville is such a stacked crew. And it's that similar thing of like you have Ari Lennox in there, who's the singer, who's really elevating things, right? You have Earth Gang in there. You have, I believe Black is on some records in there. You have
Yeah.
Reason. Like it is stacked in
Oz,
terms of
yeah.
people. And Jid was on there really shining. Like I think Jid added a lot of character to that album. And so you jump forward to the Forever Story, his latest album, and yeah, I think he's really bringing it. Like right now, I have a 4-way tie for my album of the year, and
Four-way.
that's never happened to me. Where I'm like, there are 4 albums that could each be my number one, and I have different arguments for all of them. It is Kendrick, it is Jid, it is Lupe, and it is Vince Staples. All of them have put out like banger ass albums this year. But I think for me, what the Forever Story does is like it does exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about song structure, where these songs don't flow together for me. Like if you say Dance Now, I can tell you exactly how Dance Now goes, right? If you tell me Cody Blue 31, I can tell you what that song sounds like, right? If you tell me Brother Them or System Them, like I can tell you what that sounds like. And also the fact that this album is structured, this album feels purposely structured. I think
Yeah.
with a lot of rap albums, it can feel like, oh, this is a collection of dope songs. Right here are 10 songs that I made that might have some sort of theme or might have some sort of connection, but like, don't really tell a story, don't really flow together. The Forever Story has a flow and it has switch ups, and it going through the album feels like a journey to where, it starts off strong with Radar, and Radar is Jid in your face, rapping like Jid, doing that rappy
Yeah.
rap shit, but in a way that you really feel. But then it gets into Dance Now, and Dance Now on the hook, like Jid putting on that voice kind of it gives it a different vibe. It's like, oh shit, okay.
It amps you up, yeah.
It amps you up. It's doing a different thing. But then you get into Crack Sandwich, and that's telling a story, right? And that's like kind of taking you on this journey with Jid, and it kind of keeps going like that, where you get into Can't Punk Me, and it's like, okay, you're going hard now. You get into Surround Sound, it's like, okay, I'm grooving now. You get into Cody Blue, and it's like, oh, okay, like we're singing, like we're getting we're like
spiritual.
getting in our emotion. Yeah, we're getting spiritual a bit, right? But then you get into Brother and System and that like feed off of each other, but also stand alone as well, right? Where they're doing their very own things. And System Them is probably one of my favorite songs on there, just for both the production of it, but also like the storytelling of it. Like I think he's doing a really good job rapping about him and his sister and their back and forth and getting into that story. Like to be able to storytell like that in a verse and flowing like that is so difficult, and I think very few rappers can do it amazingly, and he is doing that like supremely well on this song. But yeah, like you get later on and you have Money, right, which is a themed like, hey, this is a song all about what money means to my life. You have the Just in Time song featuring Lil Wayne, which is like him going back and forth. Lil Wayne is fucking sick as hell. Yeah, like it is it's such a great album that I think I almost love more in terms of an album than even the individual songs on there. The individual songs are great, but I think the way it comes together is the thing that really shines about it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This thing is it's ridiculous. There's some highlights on here. Like you said, Money, one of my favorite tracks. Really, I think my favorite track overall is Lauder 2, which is technically the final track on the album. As a side note, JID couldn't get the last track 2007 cleared. So if you go on YouTube, it's on there. He put it up on there. But yeah, on the Spotify version, Lauder 2 is the last track, and it's one of those perfect songs that I like. Where I talked about this in with To Pimp a Butterfly back in the day, where sometimes on To Pimp a Butterfly, he's rapping over beats that shouldn't be rapped on, but he's making it work. Lauder 2 is exactly that, because that song comes on and I'm like, is this Owl City Butterflies? Like
Yeah,
it,
100%.
it has that vibe to it, and you're like, all right, what the hell are you gonna do with this? And then he starts rapping flawlessly on it, and then the beat kind of morphs to change and match his energy. And by the end of it, you got the vocals from, I'm not sure if it's Raven Leanne or if it's Aaron Allen Kane on that final vocal part in the back end, but there's a singer, God, what's her name? The mom of the girl from the Grown Ups movies who was Chris Rock's wife.
Oh, you
What's her
lost me.
name?
That was a
God.
journey.
Ooh,
Yeah, I don't.
Maya Rudolph. Maya Rudolph.
Oh shit.
Oh,
Okay, that's a good
okay.
Minnie
one.
Riperton. Minnie Riperton's her mom.
Mhm.
Minnie Riperton, singer from like 70s or 60s or something back in the day. I like her a lot. And this lady at the end of Lauder 2, vocals remind me exactly of Minnie Riperton, and she just hits that very high vocal range that just sounds angelic, and I'm just like, what a great way to technically end the album. If you listen to 2007, that song's also really good. It's kind of like storytelling, kind of like a Kendrick and Duckworth or something like that, where
Yeah.
he's telling his origin
It
story.
I'm
Mm.
so sad he wasn't able to clear it for the actual album because
Yeah,
I think this would have been the perfect like closer for it because it feels like a Kanye last call situation of like cool, now let's tie it all together. And it isn't like it's called 2007 because I think he starts off with like in 2007 Cole released not the warm up, the come up.
come up.
Yeah, Cole released the come up, right? And it's like him talking about where he was at that time, right? And then he's like in 2000 whatever, Cole released the warm up, and then like he kind of goes, and then like he gets to 20 whatever, and it's
I
like
think
yeah, Kendrick
2012 or
released
Section 80 drop.
yeah,
Yeah,
Section 80, and then the beat switches to high power for a second, and I'm like, this is perfect. Like
yeah,
this is like such a good song. And I think for what the theme of the album is, which is very much like Jid's life, right? Like where he's gone, what his story is, all that stuff. I think to be able to end on that would have been the cherry on top that would have really sealed in the 10 out of 10ness of this album. But even still, yeah, like 2007, if you missed out on it, I highly recommend. It is an incredible song.
yes, yes,
See,
indeed.
I didn't know about 2007. I'm pulling it up right now because I again rookie. I'm a total rookie here, so
Fair enough, fair
I'm
enough.
learning
Didn't
as I
expect
go.
you to have that insider knowledge.
Yeah, but now that I do is interesting. But the thing that's interesting is that and what Blessing was saying, the album by the end of it, you can definitely tell that it was structured in a specific way because you do kind of have like a full circle sort of vibe on the last couple tracks. So I'm interested to see how this will feel almost like an epilogue for me because I already felt
Yeah.
like the album was very well capped off there at the end. Um, the funny story that I want to say. Um, Last night when I was listening to it for the first time, I just sat down, I put it on my computer, I put the lyrics up, and I'm just kind of just sitting there following, and I had a football game on in the background, Thursday night football game on in the background, and I was hanging out with the Devil's Lettuce at the time, and
Fair.
the very first track has like football sounds in the background, like
Oh,
there's I was
yeah.
y'all, I was very confused for a few minutes.
That's
I'm
so
like, "What
funny.
is going on? I have this muted. What is happening?" And
Wrestlers
it
down
took
the
me a minute
door.
to be like, "Oh, okay. Got it. Got it." Yeah, Radar
One of
threw me
Oh
the
boy.
fuck off at first, but it's a great song.
one of the things I like about this album is that like you know how people talk about like oh the president I want to vote for is like the one that I feel like I can grab a beer with, like that's the president that'll get the
Mm,
more votes.
Jid
Jid
feels
seems
like
like
that.
he seems like the rapper I want to grab a beer with. Like
yeah.
he seems like
Mhm.
a really cool dude, and I think honestly that's what's bringing me into this album even more, is that the more I listen to him talk and the more that I listen to like his stories and stuff, I'm like, man, you just seem like a chill ass dude. You seem like you got a good head on your shoulders.
Did you guys get
Exactly,
to
yeah.
see the Tiny Desk concert? I think it came out like
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit
I
ago.
watched
Yeah.
that the day it came out, man.
I
I was
figured.
super stoked.
I saw it for the first time today, and again, it
Mm.
goes with that vibe that he has. It's a funny sort of like a dichotomy because he is very in your face sometimes, right? There are certain tracks where he's very in your face, and that's the whole point about it. But he also his voice just naturally has this sort of smoothness like to it. And one thing I wasn't expecting in Cody Blue 31, I didn't know that he could sing like that. Like that one.
Yeah.
He got a
I don't think
vocal coach
anybody
specifically
knew.
for that
Yeah,
album.
he can really really fucking sing. He's got some good ass vocals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he has range, and that's gonna take him really far. Because when I first started listening to Jid, and like I listened to DiCaprio too. Again, I really like DiCaprio too, but I remember it must have been Roger. I think Roger was like putting him on like that level of like this dude's like the next J Cole,
Yeah.
or he's
I
the next
remember me and
Kendrick.
Roger were like, "He's the next Kendrick."
Yeah, and I remember hearing that and being like, I don't know, man. Like he's good, like he can flow. I don't know if he's got it like that. And after hearing this album, and after hearing him sing, after all this storytelling and flowing like crazy, I'm like, oh yeah, no, he is gonna be a force to reckon with in the near future. Like he's gonna be a mainstay, I think.
Yeah, for sure. He gives me, now I'm gonna say this, and I do not mean this lightly, and it's kind of obvious also because he lists Outkast as a big inspiration, but he reminds me of like a modern day Andre 3000, where Andre had a similar vibe in which you could tell Andre insanely talented. Andre could rip up a mic if he really wanted to, but he is so laid back, so casual at all times that I don't know if I'd maybe I'd get a kale smoothie with them rather than a beer.
Yeah.
But like JID feels like the modern version of that in that has that same casual kickback vibe, but also has the hard edge that comes with anybody living in this era as an adult.
Right.
Like, not only is he coming from poverty, the how that hardens you up, but he's also hardened by just how things are in the world. Like when you talk about a song like Crack Sandwich, I love Crack Sandwich so much because, you know, I I relate to it, just not in a direct way where if Crack Sandwich is a song about how, it's about loving your family, having your back for your family and friends, but also like the bond that comes through hard times when you're experiencing them with your family. Specifically, he's talking about like a fight that they all got into where he's defending his sister and stuff. And man, if that didn't hit me right in the heart where I've always been a passive person, but my little sister, even when we were like 3 years old, if like a kid was playing too rough with me, she'd come up and push him down.
Mm.
Like, she was always the person to be if Jid's fighting for his sister, my sister was the one who would fight for me when I was growing up. And same thing with my cousins, where if my cousins were getting rough by the time I was old enough to stand up for myself and them, I would be the ones interfering for my cousins. So like I just remember that vibe and it's like it's such a wholesome energy, even if it is something that comes from, you know, a street brawl. Like that's not
Yeah.
inherently a good thing, but good vibes, something there's a good heart in the middle of it. And that's something that I really like how you can portray something as nuanced as that in the song.
Yeah. It's very honorable. And yeah, like how like it's that thing of theming in the album and like bringing things back to where you listen. I was listening to a lot of Crack Sandwich early on in the album listening because it immediately stuck out to me. I was like, oh, this is great. Like I'm getting the story of Jid right here. But then like now that I've been listening to more of System, like having that
Mm.
kind of like two-sidedness of like, okay, yeah, like this is him get to a fight for his sister and all this stuff. But then also like here's kind of what that deeper relationship looks like between him and his sister and how that's evolved over time. And like I love how one personal this album is for him, but also how much it sheds a light on the character of JID. Like for me, it reminds me of Good Kid, Mad City, because like
Yeah.
Section 80 was dope. But like Section 8 was dope because I think the individual songs were dope and like had a different sound and it was very like experimental and all this stuff. But Good Kid, Mad City, I think popped off for us because that was Kendrick's story, right? That was Kendrick opening up a light into, oh, this is who I am. This is what I've gone through. These are my stories. This is Shireen. And like, I think
It's
this is
sure.
JID's version of like, hey, this is who I am. These are my stories, right? But like, here's all that done over excellent production and with great lyricism. But yeah, I feel more of a connection to JID as a person after listening to this album, and that's something that I'd say I've been missing from him before this, and I think that's gonna be a big step for him in his career.
Certainly, certainly. I will say, since we're saying a lot of praise, I will have maybe one negative thing that I'll go ahead and bring up right now. The album, sometimes he lets songs breathe a little too long. And what I mean by that is sometimes the entire song, every song on here is great. But like, for example, there's a track called Stars with Yasin Bey, also known as Most Def on the track. Most Def kills it, JID kills it. No one starts saying any words until a minute and 12 seconds in.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah.
And it's
Okay.
like,
Fair enough.
I'm picking up the vibe. I like it. You're dragging it out so we can get the mood, but at a certain point, especially on repeat listens, it's like I just want to get to the part where you're flowing or get to the part where the voice changes in really interesting ways. I want to get to the part where you're experimenting with the language rather than just the music. Which isn't a super damning thing. It's just something that pacing wise, it's a little annoying, but that's one of the few things keeping this from being like a 10 out of 10 album for me. Otherwise, it's fucking great.
Yeah, it is a lot to dig into, and even though it came out
Mhm.
what weeks ago at this point, I'm still digging into it. Like I'm still trying to like parse out how I feel about like certain songs and like trying to get everything I can out of like a lot of the storytelling and even like
Hmm.
the production. Like usually well, with the albums that have come out recently, I guess like Lupe Lupe would have been one of the bigger ones where or no, Kendrick actually would have been the one where
That's the main one, yeah.
I listened to Kendrick for like a week. And by the time I finished during that week, I was like, I could tell you everything about this album right here. Right? Like this album is so clear to me, like the songs, the messaging, like everything. Like I had gleamed a lot of stuff out of that album by that time.
Mm.
I feel like I'm still early in the gleaming process of the JIT album, and that might signify depth to some extent, but I also think that might signify that there's just a lot here to break down. And I'm with you that I don't know if all of it is necessary. Like I look at the track list and there's 15 songs and it's I think what, like 59 minutes, if I got
Yeah,
that right.
I
Yeah,
think it clocks in right at 59 minutes. Yeah.
yeah, 59 minutes.
Yep.
And that's a lot of content to parse through, and especially if like not all the content is worthwhile. And like there's a couple of songs in here that I don't care as much about. Like I do like Stars, even though I do think that the intro could be cut off a little bit. But like I get to Better Days, and
Yeah, Better Days. Yeah,
I never really played Never Days that much, even though like I think it's a fine song. And I like hearing him sing on it, but like it's not one that sticks out. I'm not a huge Lil Durk person. I know there are a lot of big Lil Durk people, but Bruddenham doesn't like. Bruddenham doesn't stick out to me. Like it sounds unique. I like what he's doing on the hook, but I don't go back to play that song.
I want to
And
speak
there's a
on
few of
Brother
those.
Them real quick on Brother Them. I like that song. I think it has kind of like a neo soul, like Music Soul Child type vibe, which makes sense because that's one of his favorite artists as well. But Lil Durk on here, I feel like this is every Lil Durk song I've ever heard. He has like a chipperness to him whenever he's on a song that I really
Mm.
like.
You just
Like
have to be there, man.
yeah, well, no, it's not even like I don't feel like he's like coming off as like a naive thing. I said it on Twitter once where he sounds like in a play where a kid is singing like the uplifting song. Like, he sounds like the
Okay.
male Annie whenever he's on a track. Like, I don't know why, but I just get that vibe from him, so when I hear him on this song, I'm like, he kind of, like, lifts the mood up a little bit, where everything seems so serious because it's so soulful, but then he comes in here and just, like, sprinkles a little glitter on it. I don't know. Maybe he will
Yeah.
find it disrespectful, um,
Better
but
not hear
yeah,
you saying that.
exactly. But yeah, I do like
Uh,
that song though, and Better Days just sounds like it sounds like something on like a soundtrack for Sister the Traveling Pants or something.
oh,
But
I
it's
feel
a
that.
good song, but it just feels like it's so like poppy and casual and fun, where it kind of doesn't fit with this very it feels very measured every single choice in here, where that song just feels like a song.
My while we're on the topic of critiques and critiquing features, uh I love Ari Lennox. Ari Lennox is a queen.
Oh,
Ari
great.
Lennox can do nothing wrong, but and can't make you change. I think that goes back to your critique of like certain songs like maybe doing too much or lasting too long. That hook feels like it lasts 5 minutes long, and it being like the same line over and over again. Like I don't know, there's something about the momentum of that song that I think kind of slows the momentum of the album. Where I get to it, and it's like can't, and I'm like, all right, yeah, like
Song, goddamn.
yeah,
It does kind of
yeah.
kill
I'm
the
like,
pacing of the
speed it
vibe a
up,
little bit.
Ari.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say I think Ari tries to add some variation because when she's doing that chorus forever, she's changing her inflection. She's doing different little
Yeah.
alterations to
Technically,
it.
she's killing it.
Yeah, but like it's the same line for a solid 45 seconds in this song, and I'm like, God damn. And the beat switch don't come until the very end too. It's like, all right, but overall the
Yeah.
song's good. It's just
Like maybe I needed it to be like 5 BPM more, or like maybe just like a little bit sped up or something. Because I get to that Ari hook and I'm like, wow, this is
ah,
the
There's a lot.
man. She really can't make me change.
they just need to cut off like 5 can't make you changes and
Yeah.
But yeah.
Fair
What
enough.
about you, Mario? Are there any like things I mean, you said you love it in general, but is there anything you're here like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
like,
I'm in the very earlies of like digging into the album. My early highlights, right? Crack Sandwich was I think it's one of the easier songs to like from the go understand and get into and like. And I like how Crack Sandwich, like what Blessing was saying, it gives context to System. By the time you get to System, that song almost means more because you already heard Crack Sandwich and how they connect in a way. And I mean, Brenham and System also do have a little bit of that connection. I appreciate them being back to back like that for that reason. Um, I like Money a lot. I related to Money a lot. I think Money is full of like really really great lines. Like some lines that stood out to me that made me chuckle
what
or
example
whatever it
about
might be. Fuck Hulk Hogan and fuck Joe Rogan because it flows is like
Curry? I
that
love
made that got a chuckle out of me. Um, I like the line that says, it's ironic that being broke is an expensive lifestyle." That's a line
Yeah.
that stood out to
Here
me.
So one that bothers me, and I don't know if it's just the way I'm reading it. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, or maybe I don't know. What
I'll
the
tell you
hook
wrong.
in the hook the hook where he says, "I've had so many bologna sandwiches as a child. I'll kill a dude if you make one for me right now." I don't know if he means it the way he's saying it, right? Like, is he saying that like if so, I'll love for somebody to make a bologna sandwich for me right now, or is he saying that like don't make me a fucking bologna
Well,
sandwich, I'll kill
it
you?
switches. That's the thing. It starts
Yeah.
out as like don't you dare make me one, and then by the second time that he mentions it, it
I would
is more of like I would kill for a bologna sandwich right now.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Gotcha. That explains
Yes.
that so much because that was bothering me. And I'm like, why am I thinking of it one way, but then I'm hearing him say it the other way? I probably just had it switched
Yeah,
when I
Yeah.
was like listening.
Dichotomy of once you make money, you kind of miss the simpler pleasures
Oh,
exactly.
okay. Well,
where you
damn,
made
this song is fire. I'm listening to this
Yeah.
song after the podcast. That's a
Yeah,
fire concept right there.
there
It's
you
one of
go.
my
Yeah.
highlights of the whole album, and I think it's at the bottom for a reason. I think it's part of that good ramp up of the end of the album. But Money is one probably my favorite track in the album.
Yeah. Money kind of reminds me a little bit of, oh God, what is it called? There's a leaked Kendrick song called what is it?
You're the king of leaked music.
Oh God, literally like a whole fucking
Is
mixtape
it?
came out of his leaks
Oh
during
man.
his Good Kid,
Oh
Mad.
man. Yeah, I can name you a lot of Kendrick leaks. I mean, you're talking about a recent one or an older one?
Oh no, this is like right before Good Kid, Mad City. So I want to say this is Want in Life, which had it
Okay.
sampled like some type of game show opening where it just had like the Family Feud theme song, like think that type of
Oh
thing. It
right, right,
sampled
right.
Hmm.
thing.
I actually
Money
don't know this
reminds
one.
me a lot of that.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's a weird song because it got leaked and clearly there was either supposed to be a feature or Kendrick didn't do a second verse because I have the song installed on my phone and he has a first verse, then the chorus comes again, and then it's just a blank like 16 bars. And it's like, all right,
Oh,
well,
those are the best leaks.
yeah, exactly. So I'm like, perfect for me to slide on. But yeah, it definitely gives me that vibe. And I don't know, I think Jid, this is like a more playful song where he's talking about serious stuff, but he's doing it in a way that kind of feels more like I said, casual, playful, like he shows himself to be on this track and in his appearances and whatnot.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Another line that I wrote down just again, I'm hanging out with the devil's lettuce. These lines stood out to me. I think
Kicking it
this
with
is
the
from
cat.
Money also. Yeah. Where he says Father Time fucked Mother Earth and had an Uncle Tom. I heard
Yeah,
that one and I'm like, okay, all right. All right.
yeah. I
That's
love
good.
that one. Yeah, and honestly, Radar is one of my favorite tracks on here, and I'm surprised we haven't talked about it that much because Radar is another one where you want to talk about like lyrics. Like he has some crazy ass lyrics in that one.
Dude, the one line that I'm addicted to, straight up addicted to, is when he says, "I got that shit you can play for your mama. I got that shit you can play for your house." Like
That's a good one. That's a
every
great
I
one.
listen to that song just for that line. Just for that line. It's so
Yeah.
good.
It's perfect. Yeah, he does a lot of like fun stuff like that, and then like once he gets towards the end, like I love how he's doing like if but we need a majority to make shit shake, but I know they'll never lend an ear and all that stuff. Where he's doing it in such a way where it's the end of the song and it's like a crescendo moment where he's like rapidy rapid and really intensely, but he's saying like some real shit that when you actually listen to it, you're like, oh yeah, that is like those are the problems in the world.
Yeah.
And
God.
so once again, it just speaks to that, he's growing up in this generation. He sees the same shit we see and is coming to similar conclusions. So yeah, it's just really, really cool to see him do that in such a really casual way.
I I also love when rappers bring out the best in Lil Wayne. Because
Yeah,
in Just in Time, when
He's
Lil
great
Wayne
in it.
kicks in, oh man, Lil Wayne is
He's great
flowing
in
in a
it.
way where I'm like, yeah, man, yeah, Jid made you do this. Like, you wouldn't be doing this on just a casual song. You're doing this because Jid is making you do this. It reminds me of like when Tyler put out Smuckers with Kanye West and Lil Wayne,
oh God.
and they
Yeah.
both brought their A game, and I love when those moments happen. And yeah, like Lil Wayne flowing toward the end of his verse, and then Jid picking it up. Ah, I love that stuff.
And it makes me even more excited because as another side note, also more insider information, JID has apparently said that because he's been doing a lot of songs. Like he has been making so many waves in his community of like, oh, he made a song with Babytron, oh, he made a song with Lil Yachty, all these other rappers. And everyone's like, oh man, that's gonna be on the album. Can't wait. And the album comes out, and very few of those features, if any of them, are on the album. But I think people are saying, oh, he might make a deluxe album. And if he makes a
Oh, that'd be
deluxe
sick.
version, with like all these because that's the thing we talked about how Jid is crazy at features. I heard that Yachty song. It is incredible. I can only imagine what him and Babytron sound like because
Mm.
JID, yes, this album's very soulful and everything, but before we knew he could do all that, he was Mr. Get on a track and demolish it. And so I'm just so excited to see him continue to do that. I feel like, in future albums, he said he's doing DiCaprio 3 as well, and those are more mixtape vibes rather than like the soulful, serious art vibes. So like
Mm.
he's gonna continue that train, I'm sure, and I'm very excited to see who he gets to do it with. Because if Lil Wayne's here, sky's the limit.
Yeah, Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne has a fun way of following the prompt almost too much because
Yeah,
like the song is called Just in Time, and like his entire verse is like the last word of every single line is time, which like on one hand, hey, that's dope ass lyricism, right? Like, hey man, he stuck to the thing, he did his thing. But also I'm like, man, Lil Wayne, you could deviate a little bit because like I swear to God, the last 5 Lil Wayne features I've listened to have all done that, where like on the DJ Premier put out a like a 5-song
Oh,
EP, and there's a song with Slick Rick and Lil Wayne called "The Root of It All." Um, and I think that's another one where I think they're rapping about money, and like Lil Wayne is like doing his thing, right? He's like rapping out about like all the effects of money or whatever. But like he really gets into like his creative writing English clash vibe of oh man, I'm gonna write this like themed poem right here. Every line is gonna tie back to money in some way. And it's gonna be smart. Um,
Spine and his synonym, the Thesaurus book, is just gone.
Yeah, 1000%. Those he was also like he didn't do that as much on the DJ Khaled album, but like I don't know, he's really good at sticking to the theme, but almost too good. Where it's like, all
You're
right,
like, you
man,
can
you don't
deviate a little bit, man. It's
you
all
can
good.
deviate a little bit from the theme, my guy. It's okay, it's okay, Lil Wayne, but good for him. I think he's just tired. Lil Wayne has had maybe the most verses in rap history. That man has rapped his ass off.
Possibly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
you
he's
wanna talk
definitely up
about
there.
diversity too, like, diversity-wise, this man was on a Young Gravy album, like, what, last year? Like,
Lil Wayne?
what? Yeah, he
Oh,
was
I
on the
missed that.
remix of, the big song that Young Gravy blew up on.
That's
The
hilarious. I didn't know that at all.
I forget,
That's
the one
so
that
funny.
popped off, like, a
Yeah,
year
the one
ago.
that
Yeah, he was on.
samples Never Gonna Give You Up. That's the one you mean?
No, the one
Oh,
before
the one
that,
before that. Yeah, yeah.
like, his first big
Yeah,
hit.
yeah, yeah. I forget the name of that one.
Yeah, Lil Wayne's the one where if you wanna be a rapper, you hit up Wayne, and he's the one most likely to say yes.
He's like, yeah,
What?
sure, I don't mind.
I love going to Lil Wayne's Spotify page and like right now the number one song on there is God Did because that's the latest one. But like you go through Lil Wayne's most popular songs in Spotify, and number 2 is Sucker for Pain from the Suicide Squad soundtrack with all
Nice.
the features. And then number 3 is Mirror off of the Carter, was that Carter 4? And I'm like, I didn't even like that song off of Carter 4. Why is that the number 3
Why is
on
that the number
Spotify?
three?
What
I
movie
guarantee
soundtrack
you
was that included in?
some episode of the OC ended with that song playing, and now it has nostalgia for people, I bet.
It's so yeah, and then you get to like number 4 and it's Love Me. Um which that's a Drake and feature on that one. But yeah, no, it's fascinating to see like Lil Wayne's discography and like especially like the songs that actually hit cuz it's not what you'd expect. Lil Wayne just be out here making music. He's like the Square Enix of rappers.
Yeah, he doesn't use the same random name generator, thank
He
God.
has 14 different farming simulators, and they all
Yeah.
have their own little thing.
I
They're
swear to
all
God, Lil
growing different
Wayne,
narcotics.
I remember like when Carter 4, no, sometime after Carter 4, I went back and I was like, man, I want to listen to Lil Wayne. Let me go to the albums tab on Lil Wayne's Spotify
Oh
and
my
just
god.
albums that I'd never heard of before being on there. I'm like, what the fuck is Funeral? Like, when did you
Oh,
release
dude!
this?
Funeral was here's the thing, Funeral was weird because there was hype when it came out, and I listened to it when it came out because I sensed the hype. No one talks about that album ever at all. It has a few good songs, but it's definitely one of those like, here's an album. It's
It's
it's like a what is it? Music to be murdered by type shit for him.
mm,
Oh
it's
my
funny
It's a
because
god.
good
like
one.
we waited so long for the Carter 5, yeah, Carter 5.
Yep.
And like Carter 5 came out, and like I mean, people cared about Carter 5, but then like yeah, Lil Wayne then put out Funeral. Nobody gave a fuck. Like 2
Yeah.
years later, and like we all just ignored it. And I feel this like I look through his page, and there's like one called FWA from 2015. I don't know what that is.
What the fuck?
I listened to it starts off
Singular.
with the song Glory. Glory, real good song though. Let me tell you, that's a real good song.
See,
I'm
we all
Not a
have our
Human Being
favorite
2
Wayne
came out.
songs. Wayne isn't an album artist, he's a song artist. We all like songs from him, but we're not gonna be here and be like, oh, track 17 through 4. Oh, great. Nah.
No,
We
you're
don't listen to the
1000% right. Like I there's so many skips on every single Lil Wayne album, and I don't think we talk about this enough. There's so many songs I skip, man, on all these albums. Like he is 1000% a song artist.
He's
You're
a song
100%
guy.
right.
That's why he features on so many songs. He knows what he does, right? He's a smart guy.
Yeah. We
Like,
always
who
love
here-
seeing him, but we don't want him to spend the night. You know what I mean?
Who here listens to Abortion from the Carter 4?
Oh my god.
You know, like who listens to?
I don't think I can legally listen to that song in the state.
Not
Oh,
oh damn.
Ooh.
Oh damn. Well, at least you can probably listen to Gonorrhea off of I Am Not a Human Being, track number 1.
Plenty of that in Georgia and Florida.
If I had that, I
where
probably
men
wish
are
I
at.
wasn't a human being. That's
Yeah.
true.
Like there are songs off of some of these albums that like I definitely own these albums. I don't recall any of these songs. He had a song on Rebirth called "The Price Is Wrong." I listened to Rebirth.
I'm sorry. That caught me off guard. Back to the show Tuesday.
Man.
Yeah, full circle, dude. It went full circle.
Like here's the thing: Carter 3, maybe to me the most iconic Lil Wayne album. And the one I probably listened to. Actually, I won't say I listened to it the most, but I listened to it a lot. He has a song on here called "Shoot Me Down." You could have left that off the track list.
Down.
I would not have known if you had like taken that off the song list. He had a song on here called "Pussy Monster" that I forgot about too.
All right, we're just saying words. Now we're randomly generating shit.
Yeah.
No, these are all Lil Wayne songs.
Square Enix headquarters
Remember,
again.
And this is the same. This is the same album that had "A Milli," "Got Money," "Phone Home," "Comfortable," "Lollipop." Like maybe in terms of hits, one of his most successful albums. But then like he has a song on here called "Don't Get It," all one word. And I'm like, since when did you have this song? when was this a Lil Wayne song? This random generator of albums. Good for Lil Wayne, man.
Yeah.
Good for Lil Wayne.
I mean, hey, one day hopefully we'll look back and JID will have a similarly bafflingly, confusingly large catalog of music that he's made. So
Lil Wayne is probably also the artist. Like, not only does he have the most rap verses in history, but he probably has the biggest gap of like, what are the highest? What's the song with the highest amount of listens versus the lowest amount of listens on the same album? Because like "A Milli,"
the ceiling and the floor are just
like "A Milli" has 405 million plays, right? And that song came out in 2008, right? Way before the streaming era. So like if it came out during the streaming era, it would be in the billions easily.
Oh, for sure.
Pussy Monster has 7 million listens compared to the 400 million of "A Milli." And I'm sure that trend is gonna keep going. Like I'm looking at other albums that have like 1 million listens on certain songs, and I'm like, that's Lil Wayne, one of the most famous rap artists in the world.
That's Lil Wayne.
That's Lil Wayne.
I mean, I will say, just to kind of like transition out a little bit of the JID / I guess Lil Wayne talk now. There's a lot, because here's the thing: I want JID to get his flowers for this album. I think this album's great. I think it deserves to be in Grammy conversations. It deserves to be in all the awards. You know, Grammys we've looked at as less legitimate in recent years, understandably. But yeah, I feel like it deserves its flowers, but I'm very nervous because when it comes to especially hip hop this year, a lot of competition. You were talking about Lupe, you were talking about Kendrick, you know, Denzel Curry put out an album this year.
Joey Badass put out an album.
Yeah, I need to listen to Joey Badass album. I haven't done so yet.
It's really good.
Really nervous it's not gonna hit the hype that people are saying, but
it doesn't hit for me. It doesn't hit the hype, but it's still very quality. Like it's a really good album. But like, I had very high hopes for it based off of like, I'm a newer Joey Badass fan. I came in during his like, I think it was a 3-pack with like Shine and a couple other songs.
Oh wow.
Okay. Yeah. And I listened to that 3-pack and I was like, oh, Joey Badass makes incredible music. I went back and I listened to a bunch of Joey Badass songs and I was like, this guy's fantastic. And I listened to his 2000, his latest album. And again, it's really good, but it's like a tier down from my album of the year. Like talking about the Lupe album and all these other ones. It's like a tier below, but that's not like, bad by any means. It's worth the listen, I'd say.
Well, yeah. Well, in that case, I'll still go back and listen to that one. But you got all these albums coming out. I think Freddie Gibbs is about to drop an album in like a week or something. And, there's a lot of competition. So I worry that he's going to get overlooked. I mean, it already happened with, it's either the Hip Hop Awards or just the straight up BET Awards. They put out Lyricist of the Year. And for some reason, Drake is on there this year, which no offense to Drake in general, but this album he put out was barely a rap album.
Yeah, there was one rap song on there. And it was an outro. It was probably meant to be a bonus track.
Exactly. So like, why are we giving it to him? Or even like Jack Harlow, I don't hate as much other people do, but I would have given it to Jid over Jack Harlow. So like, he's already getting overlooked in some categories. So I'm very worried that
I mean,
people aren't
like you
going to
talk
appreciate this album.
like what if I told you "Sick" by Earl Sweatshirt? That album came out this year.
Oh fuck! I forgot that came out.
Yeah, yeah, that
Oh
was a banger.
no,
It's Almost Dry from Pusha T came out this year as well.
that
Like
God, that too.
there's a lot of banger albums.
You're in
The
trouble.
Vinyl Days by Logic maybe came out this year,
Oh
which
yeah.
I actually
Album
liked
was
it.
solid.
It
Not
was
album
good.
of the year, but it was solid.
It was good. The
Too many
Game
skips.
put out his album, which is getting made fun of, but I like that album actually.
Yeah, the Game can
Yeah.
rap. Like, I'm not gonna shit on the Game. Shouldn't have come for him though. That's weird.
Yeah. The Game, like, yeah, that was a weird move, but also I like that song. Not as a diss, but like it's just a really good Eminem homage.
Yeah.
There's so many references, and I'm like, as an Eminem fan, I'm having a good time listening to this song, but also it was a
Yeah.
bad diss. But yeah, like it's pretty stacked this year in terms of rap. I forget if you mentioned the Denzel Curry one, but yeah, Melt My Eyes.
Yeah.
Um, Cordae put out an album this year also.
Yeah, but that Cordae album was kind of
It was mid.
middling. It wasn't even bad. It was just like it felt very monotone. It felt like here's one note and we're gonna hit this note the entire time, and then Eminem's at the end for some reason. And Freddie
Yeah,
Gibbs is singing. Like, all right, sure.
like Cordae's album sounded like squandered potential. Like,
Yeah.
and it hurts to say because I loved Cordae so much, and like I was looking, I felt about Cordae the way that everybody feels about Jid, where I was like, Cordae is
Mhm.
gonna be the savior. He's gonna be the next up. Like he's gonna be in that conversation. And then he dropped his first album, and I was like, yeah, this first album is great. This second album is gonna be even better. And then the second album came out, I was like, damn it, like this is not the
Come
one.
Yeah.
on.
This is not the one.
That
Do
his
you
first album
guys
is still damn near a classic, but yeah. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
You guys think that Kendrick is gonna like sweep the floor just because? I'm not sure. When Damn came out, did Damn get a lot of awards and stuff? Because obviously, Pimp a Butterfly was like it's like the critical darling, right? Did Damn also get a lot of love like that, or did it get overlooked a little bit?
I'd say Damn got the Pulitzer for him, so,
Yeah.
Mm.
it's one of those albums where it was really popular on the radio, it had a bunch of great
Yeah.
hits, it was another Kendrick album, at that point, he had a reputation, so it was very easy to give all the awards to him critically, and then on top of that, you had a lot of people who didn't appreciate To Pimp a Butterfly when it was happening, so a lot of awards were kind of, like similar to, like, Denzel Washington, where he won for Training Day, but it was really for Malcolm X,
Mm.
like they're retroactively giving him awards for that. So yeah, I think Kendrick is more or less a shoe-in this year for getting a lot of these awards, but I don't know how much because that's one thing I forgot to mention. This JAD album is much more of an easy listen compared to the Kendrick album,
That's true. It's
Yeah.
more
where
approachable.
yes, way more approachable. When I heard the Kendrick album, I was scared. I was like, "Fuck." I've been hyping this up forever, and people are gonna listen to this for the first time and be like, "This is my first Kendrick album. Help! What is this?" But JID, this is like it's more down to earth, like you said, more approachable. I think if people care enough to listen to it, they would. I could see this one being a better crowd pleaser, but Kendrick's name is just too big, and we'll
It's
we'll see
also
what
like
happens there.
5 years since he released an album, which
Yeah, yeah,
you
we've
gotta
been
assume carries
we've
something.
been edging for all these years, like
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, man.
Jesus.
yeah,
We've all
so
been
yeah, it's
there.
finally time.
Yeah.
Jin's been out here running us around with this album as well, so we both have gotten big release of energy when we needed it. I don't know how I was gonna phrase
Emmett's
that.
been edging for years, man.
Good
I
stuff.
will say Kendrick's album also has like a lot of character to it, like in terms of like every song kind of standing alone and
Mm.
kind of like, yeah, like I went to the Kendrick concert a few weeks ago, and whenever any single song that came out on the album, as soon as the song started, I was like, oh, let's fucking go, it's this song. Oh, let's fucking go,
Yep.
it's this song. Like it had like Kendrick is just good at making songs that pop and like feel like they're each a moment. And so like as soon as you hear N95 or Die Hard or whatever, like they all kind of speak for themselves. Whereas like Jid's album feels like more of an album.
Yeah.
Like I think you really
Mhm.
got to listen through the whole thing to really appreciate it as much as opposed to just individual songs. Even though like the singles are good, like Dance Now and all that stuff is good. And I don't listen to the radio, so I don't know how much the radio is playing Jid. I assume at least a bit. I assume
Yeah,
Dance Now might be on
reasonably.
the radio. I like
Surround sound I've heard on the radio at least once.
surround
Surround sound
Okay.
is a very it could be a hit on the radio. I could definitely see
Yeah.
You
that
get
being like
21
a
Savage, you'll
single.
trap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas like We Cry Together, like that song was a meme and like
I
made
saw
the
the music video. I
rounds.
couldn't believe what the fuck he did there.
Yeah. Oh my god, that music video was fire. Especially the end. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna watch that after this.
Who's end? No, I'm
His. But yeah, like Mother I Sober, like Mirror, like I think there's so much, especially in terms of like meaning and what it's doing for mental health and all that stuff that I think it feeds into it too. Where like if Kendrick sweeps, I'm not gonna be mad because he's Kendrick
Yeah,
and the album is
exactly.
fantastic. But yeah, I probably want it for Jid more because I think I think he could use it, and also I think he's deserving of it and all that stuff. But yeah, like the Kendrick album is kind of a thing of its own. So I'm curious to see like how this stuff ends up going toward the end of the year.
I'm curious to see after October 21st when I force Emmett to deeply analyze Taylor Swift's new album, where he stands on album of the year. Very, very interested to see.
I'm interested to see what a Taylor Swift album even sounds like. I've heard maybe 3 songs of hers.
Oh man, you're hosting a podcast with the right person, dude. Let me tell you.
Hell yeah.
Let me tell you.
I will say too, Family Ties came out late last year, and I feel like I know it's not on the album, but I feel like it's gonna boost this album. Like the Baby Keem hype, I think is gonna help Kendrick out a lot too. Because Family Ties, that song saved my life. Like that was the sicko mode of last year. That song couldn't I can still listen to that song today and it feel like the first time I ever listened to that song.
And then on top of that, once the actual Keem album dropped out, it was the other song that had all the meme potential with the "Let's get this shit" top of the morning.
Of course,
Kendrick was on our minds for a good 16 months.
Yeah,
so
he's had a presence.
He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. Well, ladies, gentlemen, non-binary folks, that has been our discussion on JID's new album, The Forever Story. What did you think of the album? If you listened to it, are you a rookie like me? Tell me. I guess that's about it. Emmett, where can people find you?
You guys know where to find me. EJSpun61 is the Twitter account. Go follow me on Twitter. VGU.TV is the website. We're uploading. I got to put a new Players Club podcast up right after we finish this, so I'm gonna be editing that. But yeah, you'll see stuff. I think I might do a video going through the Steam Deck now that I have just about everything set up the way I wanted. I've been emulating and Xbox cloud gaming the entire day today, so I'll probably do that on the YouTube channel there soon. So look out for that. And yeah, other than that, I got a cosplay costume on the way here, so we'll see what happens with that come October 29th.
Does that have anything to do with the Bayonetta bet that you had, the thing that you had going on?
Oh! It has everything to do.
Oh yeah! I'm excited for that.
I had
Talk
to
about
measure
edging.
my body.
Talk about edging.
Oh God, I'm being the edge of something.
Blessing, thank you so much for coming on the show. First of all, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate you being the first official guest of the Spoonful podcast.
Yeah. Ooh.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, we figured you were the perfect person to have you. Now, I'm sure everybody knows where you're at, but just in case people don't, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Blessing Jr. And thanks so much again for having me here. When I saw you guys tweet out the podcast for the first time and announced that you're doing this, I actually got really excited because I like both of you guys, and I like both of you guys together also because I've hung out with you guys to play Apex or whatever, and it's always a fun time kicking it with you both. And so I think this is a really fun podcast, and I am honored to be the first guest on the Spoonful podcast.
Hell yeah,
we're honored to have you. Yeah, well, you're welcome back anytime you have any topics of any random shit you want to talk about. You know where to
probably
find
not
us.
for the next 4 weeks. Or actually, no, closer to 8 because game season is starting.
Yeah, he's a little busy and whatnot. But,
yeah, I mean, it might be a little busy.
We all will be. God, there's gonna be too much to play.
There already is too much to play. I gotta get to finish Elden Ring, man. Fucking time's running out.
I am still at the same point with Saints Row as I was last episode.
Oh no,
we're all down bad.
Oh no, it's rough. Everybody, have a great rest of your day. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. Peace out.